And we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Noah Clark. I'm joined by Sam Thompson in the commentary booth. You're listening to live coverage of Formula 4's World Championship in the Premier Sims Gaming League PlayStation divisions. And we're here and set and ready for the Dutch Grand Prix in the Netherlands here at Zandvoort, which is bound to be an absolutely exciting and exhilarating race. Zandvoort, one of the most classic tracks here in Formula 1, racing way back in the olden days, coming back to this track now modernized just a fair bit for these new and exciting cars that will go on to the track and experience the winding curves here at Zandvoort. Nonetheless, we have 18 cars on the grid here today. It is looking a fair bit wet outside. In fact, I'm seeing a few puddles on the ground, so I do believe we are experiencing maybe just a little bit of rainfall, in fact. But we have 18 cars getting ready for short qualifying, 18 minutes of nonstop action. Drivers allowed to set as many times as they possibly can in order to try to battle for pole position here today. And Isaac Kush is right there coming out of the grid. So, in fact, it was not the puddles, it's just the pavement isn't very well paved here at Zandvoort, as Isaac Kush comes out in the racing point, leading the championship so far through now 4 rounds, coming up to round number 5. We'll see if he can control that lead in the championship here today. And Sam, we're here at Zandvoort, one of the most difficult tracks in the calendar. Lots of elevation changes, lots of tight corners, some very tricky corners to judge of braking and throttle. What are drivers going to have to do today to secure pole position and secure a good race result?
Well, I think the main thing is that concentration factor, of course, for all these drivers. As you said, very tight, very close to, not close to the barriers, but very close to going off the track. It's very tight, very thin, and very narrow. So the drivers will need a lot of concentration, going through the first couple of corners, especially through turn 1, 2, and 3. A very tricky section to get it completely right, and especially for the race as well, it's going to be a tricky section to get through sector 1. There's not many overtaking opportunities, but there are a lot of opportunistic opportunities for drivers to take around here. But in terms of qualifying, it's going to be a very, very tricky one for all these drivers tonight. And, well, like I said, concentration, I think, is the main thing the drivers need. And obviously the skill, really, at the end of the day. That's the main factor when it comes to all of it.
As I'm riding on board of Isaac Kush right now, as he has a little bit of a wide moment coming into the bank turn right there, as now he's coming towards the end of Sector 1. Let's bring up the lap data and the track map so you can see exactly what's going on, as there is a yellow flag right now, and that is for one of the Haas's here today, which would either be Burka Bedev or Tees 24. And yellow flags all over the place. Drivers may be letting by some drivers. Let's see how Isaac Kush gets underway here today. He was one of the first drivers out on track and going to be one of the first set of time. His teammate, a little further ahead, has gone fastest in the second sector. We'll see how long that lasts here today, as he is about to come around the penultimate turn and then the final turn. A long bunch of braking, a lot of banked turns here in Zandvoort. Very difficult on the tires here, the Pirelli compound tires, as VR Mike K is going to come across the line, and he's going to set pole position early with a 108.506. His teammate Isaac Kush is going to come across the line as well, but I think he may have actually had an invalidation because he had not set a valid time. FRO Ginger and FRO Chapelot in the Alfa Romeos go 3rd and 4th for the moment before IFR Rowan, who is way down the order in the championship of 12 points, has put it provisionally on pole position for the moment.
Yeah, and you say he's down there in the championship, but there is actually a very, very slim chance, but there is actually a chance for Rowan to potentially take the top of the championship today. He'd need a serious amount of luck, of course, including winning, but he started really, in my opinion, he's made a good impression. Wasn't here for the first 2 races. For the 3rd race, he didn't finish that race, so there's not really much evidence of his pace to go off from there. But for Belgium, he had a pretty good race, finishing in 2nd place. It's the first finish he had of the season, so I'm intrigued to see how he does. And he's already setting the pace nice and early on there with a 1 minute 8.2, but still a long way to go, and it's a bit overcasty here, so we could be seeing a little bit of rain. And I do know that these drivers surely would have some sort of medium tyres, simply because this track should be, I believe, a soft-hard strategy, but there is an option to go for the soft-medium strategy, and a two-stop, in my opinion, isn't actually... It's not... It is favoured in some way here, if you get it right, because the pit lane at this track is only 9... It should only theoretically take you around 13 seconds, I think it is, to get through from a pit stop, so technically speaking, it's not out of the question here. There's a virtual safety car that some people may consider pitting and doing a two-stop here today.
And we just saw Bugatti come across the line. A very unorthodox style right there, being down in 15th. Not a great time from the AlphaTauri driver, as we have pretty much all the drivers on the grid with times, except for our championship leader, Isaac Kush. And we're getting actually a camera going, never get to see, and all the racing points have disappeared all of a sudden. Isaac Kush, meanwhile, is coming back out of the pit lane on what looks to be a new set of soft tires. So already using 2 sets of soft tires in qualifying here today, and he has not set a time on the board. So those first set of tires used up for nothing. So we'll see if Isaac Kush can get a competitive time, at least, on the board. At the moment, IFR Rowan continues to keep that provisional lead in the pole position race. Vapor Nuth has put himself up into second position. Barakbadev, actually, very impressive third spot at the moment. VR Mike K is there in fourth, and rounding off the top 5, his rival from Formula 5 last year, VER Devon, rounding off the top 5. Ginger in 6th, 7th right now for Milan. Charlie Moon in 8th. Yannick sitting there in 9th position. Efro Chapelot is rounding off the top 10 positions at the moment.
Yeah, and we've talked about Chapelot, haven't we? Very rarely, but quite disappointing, really, isn't it? He started the season off brilliantly in Bahrain, but for the last couple of races, he's been well off the pace. Well, he hasn't finished in any of them, but he hasn't looked like winning in any of those races, so he really needs to start fixing out his form, and he's down in 10th place at the moment, only 4 tenths off Rowan currently on pole position, which looks like a lap that's going to be quite difficult to beat, considering the other banker laps, whether Rowan went for like a complete full-out lap, and of course whether the others did as well. But for Chapelele, a little bit disappointing, but I think we're about to see more from Chapelele in this session. There's a lot more that these drivers can give, I do know that for a fact, and obviously Isaac Kush would be the obvious one to say who should be up there a little bit further than 18th place, because he hasn't set a time, and also because he's leading the championship, so a little bit way to go still, but Isaac Kush at the moment on a lap, and I'm just intrigued to see where he will come out of, which will be his first lap in the end, and that lap may have been put off a little bit there by Burek Badev, who did get a little bit in the way from Isaac Kush, but Isaac Kush still continues, so we'll just go on board till the end of this lap, see how he does. 2 more corners to go, turn 13, then turn 14, which is a long right-hander, and he's actually, is he coming into pits? No, he's not. I thought for a moment he might, and there we go, second place, so as suspected, Isaac Kush right in the fire, potentially for pole position here.
It was a fastest first sector for Isaac Kush, but that second sector was not even his personal best sector there, and it may have had to do with Barekbadev, who did get a little bit in the way. You can see there was a little bit of a jolt from both cars as Isaac Kush got a little close to the Haas there, maybe not able to take the most optimal line to the turn. Let's ride on board with Barekbadev, the Haas driver who has struggled in the championship, and that's a big spin around. And now he's facing the wrong way on track, and Barekbadev really lost. Oh my goodness, he almost hit one of the racing point there, and that was Isaac Kush. Barekbadev, unfortunately, losing the car. Not a general location. I've seen a lot of drivers lose it there, but he put too much power out of the banking, and the rear complained and said no thank you, and he is now having trouble keeping that car under control. Those soft tires, I presume, not only very sticky, but also now very a little more worn than he'd like them to be. Meanwhile, FRL Chapelelli improved quite a bit up in the 3rd position. Vapor Noof is now down to 4th. Barekbadev still sits in 6th position. Mike K now sitting outside of the top 5. Dertamo up into the top 10. VR Devon in 8th. Ginger continuing to fall down the order. He's in 9th position, but he is on a timed lap right now, so let's ride on board with the AlphaTauri driver, who is just ahead of IFR Milan, who is in the Mercedes as he's coming down towards the end of Sector 2, breaking into the chicane right there. there. You can see up by about a 10th and a 700th of a second right there as he's coming into the penultimate turn. Now towards the final turn, as he said, that long right banked hand turn coming towards the pit lane entry point, trying to minimize the amount of steering you have to do. Right on the power, down to the line, and now he goes behind his teammate there in 4th position. Alfa Romeo looking very good right now, leading up the second row of the grid.
Yeah, brilliant performance so far, again from Alfa Romeo, and this is one of the teams this season, which I've had in 2 previous seasons in PSGL, that just look like they're going to be contenders for the Constructors' Championship, but so far, looking at their Constructors' position, they don't exactly look like they're in it to win it at the moment, and I say that with all due respect, but most of the points for Alfa Romeo had came from the first weekend, of course, in Bahrain, which is 22 points, which, despite the AlphaTauris in Singapore, is the second highest points margin that they've been able to get. But since then, it's been 5 points, then 4 points, then 5 points again. So, not the highest of points, really, but mind you, we haven't seen Chapelele finish a race since Bahrain, so if he does finish today and Ginger does finish, they could put themselves back into the frame, but we'll just have to wait and see, because they are title contenders, these two. I think the racing points look like they could be very good. Mike Kay up there in 7th, and Isaac Kush, of course, in 2nd place. But it's Williams at the moment, who do lead that Constructors' Championship. And, well, at the moment, 5th and 8th, it seems pretty close between the three. I mean, 3 top contenders. Maybe you can put AlphaTauri in the mix as well, but only one driver representing them today, so we'll just have to wait and see. But those 3 at the moment, they are proving why they are the top constructors for now.
Right now, a team who is struggling down in 12th and 13th respectively is Ferrari, second to last in the constructors, and the FVR Charlie Moon does not finish his lap because it actually is identical to his last lap, so no improvement there from the Ferrari boys. 12th and 13th right now, not in the points and not looking too good. They are just ahead of Haas, who have not scored a single point this season. But Barakbadev is looking to change that, because up in 6th position, we've seen Barakbadev before, though, have good qualifying performances, but have not been able to change those into good race results. Do you think this is the race maybe Barakbadev can change that around?
Well, he looks like he's had good performances, though, this season, Barakbadev. The problem is, in the races, he just makes these mistakes or gets caught up in incidents, and then all that hard work and everything that he's done, that pace and everything that he has shown that he can have, it's just all undone. So he's had a little bit of misfortune and just got in the way at the wrong time. At points, and I think that's where Barakbadev needs to...
Oh, that's a big crash for Tease, who has crashed into the wall, and that's a wheel off and a front wing gone. And we were just talking about the Haas team, who continues to struggle, and they'll struggle even more because Tease is out of the qualifying session here today with about 5 minutes left to go. His teammate, I think, actually just passed him right there, when he had that accident, as he's coming through the 3rd sector right now, and he looks like he's going to finish off his lap, but that was a massive crash for Tease 24, and oh, that's a big off for Barakbadev, and that's maybe going to end this current lap right there. He's just going to go back into the pit lane, but a massive accident here in qualifying. That is Tease out of qualifying here.
Yeah, and Tease, I mean, we talk about Barakbadev and everything, he's got 0 points, but he's looked like he could score points, Barakbadev, sorry. But his teammate Tease at the moment, he's a little bit out of his depth, I'll say for now. That's no criticism to him, but in qualifying he looks quite far off the pace. Bugatti looked like he was going to improve by quite a margin in his previous lap, but he did invalidate. But Tease at the moment, he has been tying up, and that's not meant to be a pun or anything. He has been tying up the back of the grid for the last couple of races. I haven't really seen him high up the grid at all, which this grid tends to be very close and very close to each other. Which
goes up in the 2nd ahead of Isaac Kush. I apologize for interrupting you, but has gone up in the 2nd ahead of Isaac Kush. A fastest 3rd sector right there, up 0.3 of a second on his last lap. And Isaac Kush is back in the pit lane, about 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. Not a lot of time to set another lap. And let's see here. I don't believe IFR Rowan is on a lap. No, he's not. And he still sits at the top right there. So IFR Rowan, you said, had the possibility of taking the lead in the championship while he's doing everything he can to secure that lead, because he's currently still top of the timing sheets here in qualifying, as he himself will go into the pit lane, possibly for the final time, as there is not a lot of time left on the board. Lap times are short here. His pit lane stop is right there, so that's a little convenient for him. But we'll see if he comes out again for another lap. I presume he will. FRO Ginger, meanwhile, has gone up into third on the grid right there, and he is ahead of Isaac Kush, who has now dropped down to fourth on the grid, splitting the two Alfa Romeo, Chapeloli, rounding up the top 5. Back to you, Sam, sorry.
Yeah, I'll talk about Tees, won't I? Yeah, he's been towards the back of the grid the last couple of rounds, and I think he just needs that confidence boost, really, to improve, as Devon just comes across the line, moves up one position, actually, but a tiny improvement there. But yeah, both AlphaTauris, though, shockingly down there. I don't think Sia is. I don't think he is in AlphaTauri. I think he's a reserve at the moment. Let me just confirm that. Yep, he will be a reserve for the moment, I think, unless he's actually changed now to AlphaTauri, because Zizzle's moved up, hasn't he? So, yep, he's now in AlphaTauri. Excuse me there. It's just because Zizzle's moved up. It's been a little bit of a shift around between all of them, but at the moment they wouldn't be happy, I don't think, in 16th and 18th, considering that AlphaTauri could be in the Constructors' Championship battle, as I think that was Charlie Moon who's gone up to 6th place there. So good start for the Ferraris, which haven't had a very good start in reference to their season, and at the midway point it would be good to score some points. But for AlphaTauri, yeah, these times are crucial now. Where Sia is coming is crucial. And will he improve on his time is the question. It looks like it's going to be quite close. I don't think he's going to improve by much. No, he's actually down. So he has one more lap, does Sia, but yeah, it's not very good. It's not looking good for the AlphaTauris tonight.
And Barak Badev, I was running on board with, improves, goes up into the top 5. So a great lap from the Haas driver, opposite of his teammate, of course, who crashed out here today. And that is a very nice spot for him to be in, and hopefully he can keep that. But we still have a few fair times left to go. FRL Chapeloli has started his time here in Zandvoort for the final time in qualifying. Can he secure pole position at the very end? Meanwhile, Rowan, Nuth, and Ginger are all on outlaps, but it is Rowan who starts off the first of the flying laps here from the top 3. Ooh. Coming into turn number 1, very nice in the turn number 1, almost no lockups as he comes through turn number 2 and turn number 3, and Charlie Moon has retired, and I believe he did in the pit lane, so all good to go. And I am going through. Let's see how the Sector 1 time is going to be for Rowan. Can he improve on that pole position time and make it just a little bit safer as he's coming through the end of Sector 1 just about right now, and he has improved by about 39 hundredths of a second. So Rowan continuing to improve his time. Now coming through Sector 2 a lot shorter. No, that's off on the grass. And Rowan really moved to the right side of the track just a little bit too much.
Oh. Yeah, Chapelele's in the wall then, so he won't be improving this lap. But Isaac Kush coming to the line then in the end. He's at the top spot at the moment. There's still a couple of people to set lap times. Ginger is one of them. Watch out for him. Vapornuff as well. Watch out for him. He's up by a small amount as well. Rowan, I think, is down and out. So Rowan has no more chances to go up. So it looks like the favourite for that pole position, and looked quite confident for it, is not going to get it simply because of a little mistake. And that's exactly what we're on about here. Mistakes can cost you, and that concentration was key. We said it from the start. A lot of tricky corners around here. Isaac Kush at the moment seems to have mastered it. However, Vapor Nuff is coming through. Ginger is coming through as well. Ginger's up on his time, but Vapor Nuff at the moment is the closest. Whether he's going to improve enough to get pole position, I don't know. But has he got second place on the grid? No, he has not. What about Ginger? He's invalidated. That's his lap over, and that is qualifying over, actually. Rather, in the end, quite unfortunate, really, because Ginger, well, he wouldn't have moved up much anyway. I think he would have got past Tatamo. But look at that. I haven't noticed that until now. Both Williams, 3rd and 4th places, so brilliant qualifying from them.
Yep, Tatamo at the very end of a very nice performance. So that's it. And the man you're seeing roll into the pit lane, Isaac Kush, has secured pole position here today for the Dutch Grand Prix. IFR Rowan sits second in the first row of the grid. Vapor Nuth and Dirtamo, the Williams team, looking really strong once again here today as they go up the second row of the grid, and they currently still lead the constructors, and they're looking to continue that lead coming into the race. Going over the rest of the grid order, FRO Ginger rounds off the top 5. Yannick in 6th. 7 for Brakbadev, a very good qualifying for the Haas driver. FRO Shapalelli in 8th position, a little bit opposite of his teammate. 9th for FER Charlie Moon, putting the Ferraris into the top 10. IFR Milan in 10th, rounding off the top 10 right there. VR Mike K in 11th, 12th for Max Rowe. FER Simply Rush in 13th. Sasakir in 14th. 15th for Devin. CRL Sia in 16th position. And T's out of qualifying with the crash. He sits in 17th position. And Bugatti, really poor performance there in the AlphaTauri team. Both AlphaTauri drivers, pretty poor performance here in qualifying. 16th and Bugatti 18th, respectively. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was your qualifying session for the Netherlands. It's time for the Dutch Grand Prix. Again, my name is Noah Clark. You're joined by Sam Thompson in the co-commentators booth, and you're watching live coverage of the Formula 4 World Championship. It's time for round number 5. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. You can see the drivers sitting right there on the grid order as we are just getting ready for the formation lap to begin. We'll go over the grid order one more time if you're just joining us right now. If you wanted to skip qualifying, it is very cloudy here in the Netherlands, so we'll see if there's any rainfall on the forecast. But nonetheless, it's time. And Sam, before we get on to the formation lap, any final thoughts?
Well, I think we're in for another thrilling race and another unpredictable one. To be honest, I think Isaac Kush proving now why he's the championship leader, and so far we've not had a clear leader of the championship, so this is an opportunity for him to express that. And I think also, again, watch out for the Williams today. If they are actually basing it and they are actual proper teammates and everything, they're actually communicating with each other and everything, we could be seeing some interesting tactics from them as well. They currently lead the Constructors' Championship, and they're looking to take a further edge on that. And I think there is a few other talking points as well, how the AlphaTauris will do. For example, race winner this season in Bugatti, of course, needs to get out of his black cloud, and as qualifying has shown, it seems like he is still in it. So we'll have to wait and see for the race, because the race is different to qualifying, and I think we'll see if that's the case today. And Rowan as well, very close to a victory last weekend, and he looks like he's got a good, strong. He looks like he's got good, strong pace to be near the front, but he needs to keep getting the wins. If he gets a win today, then we could be seeing some interesting reserve driver at the top of the standings very soon.
And let's go over the grid one more time here for the Dutch Grand Prix as the drivers get their tires warmed up for the start of the race. Isaac Kush is on pole position, the man in the lead of the championship, putting a charge here on at Zandvoort. IFR Rowan, a very nice qualifying position for him in second position, looking to try to take the lead from Isaac Kush. Vapor Nuth and Dortamo in third and fourth position, very nice position for the Williams team, and FRO Ginger rounds off the top 5. Yannick sitting in sixth position for Renault, with Brakbadev in a nice position in seventh for the Haas American team. FRO Shapalelli, not as good as his teammate, sits in eighth, just inside the top 10 for Alfa Romeo. FVR Charlie Moon has put his Ferrari up into the top 10, so looking to score some points and continue to stay ahead of Haas at the moment, but it's going to be difficult with Brakbadev there. IFR Milan rounding off the top 10 and going over the rest of the grid order, and some free tire choice right now going into the bottom top 10. Mike K selecting the medium tires. Max Rowe onto the hard compound tires. FVR Simply Rush has crashed on the formation lap, meanwhile, and has the reset on track. He's in the medium tire compounds. Sasakir in 14th on the hards. Devin on the mediums. Sia on the mediums. Tees has decided to put on the medium tire after his accident. And Bugatti is going to start on the hard. So that is your grid order as Simply Rush looking to rush out some of those nerves as he has a bit of a spin there in the formation lap. Thankfully, no damage. As the final car approaching the grid, that is Bugatti. We'll see if he can convert this bad qualifying into a good race performance as the car finally strolls up onto the grid order, and we're getting ready for those 5 red lights. It's round number 5 in the championship here in Formula 4. getting ready. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here in the Dutch Grand Prix. The lights are out, and away we go. And Isaac Kush gets a good start. One of the Williams moving alongside the cover of FRO Ginger coming in the turn 1. And now look at this. Milan, who is, it is Rowan, who's still in second position with Dortamo. Look to be side by side of his teammate coming into turn number 3. And there's a few collisions up the grid order. Looks like Ginger is still getting into the mix of it, going side by side of the Williams. You can see there on board with Ginger and the Alfa Romeo on the inside. Oh, they're still banging wheels as they come towards into the bank turn right here, still side by side. Ginger has to back off. That could have been a very nasty accident, but it is also Dortamo who is just right behind Ginger. Sorry, that is Noof going up into third position. Ivor Rowan in second position. Isaac Kush continues to lead away here in the Netherlands. Bragbadev has put himself up into sixth position. A nice start for him. Yannick is in seventh position with Efro Chapelelli still down in eighth position and is looking to try to get ahead of the Renault rather quickly. Ivor Milan down in ninth position, trying to keep out of the rear diffuser of that Alfa Romeo. Charlie Moon, not a great start, down in 10th position with his teammate right behind him. So both Ferraris line astern right now as we're going single file line so far at the moment here at the start of this race. Going on to lap 2, Isaac Kush is the man who sets the fastest lap of the race as expected, and he leads away right now on lap number 2.
Yeah, great start from Ginger, though, I have to say. Almost pressurizing the top 3 there. So, brilliant start for Ginger, and it says he's first right now. He's not in the lead. Again, these patches that keep coming out, then we're gonna just not get a proper patch for this, are we?
No, never gonna happen.
It is such a shame. But anyway, Ginger in third place right now, and what a start for him, getting straight past Dortamo, and again, really attacking Vapor Nuff here, and I think he's gotten a little bit away, the other Williams driver, but this is important. We said about the Williams to begin with before this race, and how important they could be for the top 2. Well, Ginger split them up now, and I think these two are going to be in for a little bit of a tricky time, but everyone just following each other though, a little bit of trains at the moment, going from the top 14, and for the medium runners, they've all got past the hard runners, remarkably, so all the hard runners at the back of the grid, even though I believe one started in 11th place, and that would be Maxro, who's moved down 4 positions.
Maxro did try to make a move on the outside of Tees, but didn't quite work, and right now he's behind him, but he's trying to go on the inside. A little bit of lag between the two drivers as they're going side by side down the start-finish line. Is that Tees who has some front wing damage? It looks like he might have. Yep, he is losing an end plate. On the inside goes the Renault, and there is a lot of moving around. Their wheels are interlocked at the moment. That's not what you want to do in a Formula 1 car. They're still side by side. Some contact. Tees gets pushed off track, and now Sasakir might try to take advantage, but now he actually loses out, and right now Bugatti is side by side of the Red Bull driver right now, trying to hang it around the outside, coming into the bank turn right here. They're still side by side. Banging wheels together is Sasakir and Bugatti, still side by side, not giving up either of these two drivers, and Bugatti slots ahead. So Sasakir is looking to make an advantage on the Haas driver there of Tees, who was had a little bit of an off-track excursion after the bump from Maxro, but now, and there he goes, drops it on the gravel, and now he's lost a whole bunch of positions. Bugatti, meanwhile, hits a fantastic run out of the turn right there. Both of the drivers right there have DRS, and they're still banging wheels. Tees and Bugatti going through the chicane, and that front wing damage probably hurting Tees a little bit as he's just not able to keep up with the turn-in of the AlphaTauri of Bugatti, and Bugatti up into 16th position, and I think Tees might be getting sized up right now from Sasakir. Sasakir moves to the inside line, it would be, but just doesn't quite have the traction. But now he goes on the inside, a big dive bomb, and he makes contact and into the air and into the gravel is Sasakir, and he has a reset on track. I think that'll be okay. But Sasakir really went for a move that maybe didn't quite exist. And unfortunately, that sent him into the air, and he doesn't seem to have too much damage, so he's quite lucky to get out of that incident with that, but he is, of course, back by about 4.6 seconds. Meanwhile, going back up to the top of the grid order, Isaac Kush continues to lead right now with about 0.6 of a second lead over IFRO Rowan. Vapor Noof, meanwhile, still in third position. FRO Ginger splitting up those two Williams. Dortamo rounding off the top 5. Bragbadev, meanwhile, very good start to the race. No accidents to get into, no mistakes. He's holding a pretty nice race right now. Let's see if he can convert it into some points today. We don't want to speak too early, but as we move on towards lap number 5 right now, it's Isaac Kush who continues to lead us away here in Zandvoort.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see what the Ferraris are doing now. Charlie Moon has dropped back a significant amount. I wonder if he has got damage here. He's losing a lot of positions. He's lost one position, and that Racing Point dives down the inside. It doesn't look like Charlie Moon's got any damage, but he seems to be quite not with it for pace at the moment, as Mike K gets past him as well as he's looking for another way by. Devon, though, is going to take this opportunity up the inside. That's, oh my goodness, behind Sia there, almost losing the rear end at the exit of that corner, and that is quite a difficult corner to get on the traction nice and early, as Sia has just shown us. And Burt Badev looking for points this weekend. That's not a very good start then in the end, as he does drop back out of a second as well from Datamo, so he's going to be under a little bit of pressure now, perhaps from Yannick, who will have the DRS, while Badev will not. And I wonder if he's had a small mistake or something, a bit of oversteer or understeer, and gone a little bit wide, and it's cost him a warning, which has obviously given him a penalty in the end. So I'm intrigued now to see what Burt Badev does, because he has fallen away, and I think Yannick and Chapalele, for that matter, will be looking to close.
Simply Rush as well, meanwhile, outside of a second, 2.1 seconds, in fact, so Mike K might be looking for an advantage here. Look at this, Devon going on the inside of Charlie Moon. Charlie Moon is just not having a good race, loses another position. He's actually lost it to a tire compound, which is not as fast as the soft, but he tries to find a way past the McLaren right there. Devon moving a couple times right there. He might not be too happy with Devon right there, as Devon keeps it up in 12th position. Now Charlie Moon is under pressure from Sia, who we just mentioned last lap had trouble and almost lost the rear end, and now he's putting a lot of pressure on Moon. He seems to be losing in every turn, not braking late as the other drivers, not getting the turn-in value right here, as Sia probably had an opportunity to go on the inside there, thinks against it, and now actually losing a bit of traction. Charlie Moon, though, does just not have the straight line, doesn't have the turn-in. He's losing a bundle amount of time every couple of turns, and we may see Sia get himself up into 14th position as he tries to hunt down some points for his own team.
Yeah, I still have no idea why Charlie Moon is so slow in this race. Doesn't look like he's got damage anywhere. He just seems to be pulling off. He's not quick on the straights at all. Look how quick Sia is to get past him. He's just got no pace at all as the Ferrari driver. So I have no idea what's happened here to him. But he's falling back very quickly, and on those soft tyres as they continue to wear, doesn't seem like he's going to be going any quicker anytime soon.
Meanwhile, Chapalele, oh my goodness, making contact with the Renault. And the Renault kind of gave him a little shove off like that. You're not making a move right there, Chapalele. You're going to have to wait just a bit. But then Yannick has it off. And Chapalele takes advantage and goes on the inside. Now Milan might be looking to take advantage of that mistake. And Yannick, all that hard work is come undone, and he's lost the position now to Chapalele. He was looking to try to get towards Badev, but now it's going to be Chapalele who's going to try to hunt down the Haas driver there, who continues to sit in 6th position.
Yeah, and Burt Badev, he seems to be a little bit slower than the leaders ahead of him. He has done well, though, to keep his position, but kind of fortunate that Yannick and Chapalele having that slight contact there, and obviously then Yannick, of course, going wide. And I think Chapalele probably would be like moaning a little bit beforehand, saying he deserved the space there, and then obviously after that, I think he would have been Fernando Alonsoing it by saying karma.
Meanwhile, I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's an engine loss problem here at Ferrari, because Charlie Moon just got absolutely blasted away by Maxer. There's just no pace. There's no straight line pace. There's no turn-in pace. I have no idea what's going on with the Ferrari of Charlie Moon, but he is just losing pace in ways that I have not seen before. You almost think there's a mechanical problem here for him, because there is just no pace right now in that Ferrari as he continues to fall down the order. Drivers who were seconds behind him now catching up very quickly to him and looking to make a move rather quickly, to say the least.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on. I'm just checking in 100. He's getting up to speed in these ones, but when it comes to the main straight, he just loses so much time. Watch him on board against Maxro here. Maxro is just...
Oh, but Devon, a big crash on the straight! And Shapalili hits and T-bones the Haas of Barakbanev, who lost the rear end. And a big crash on the start-finish line. Shapalili sitting on the side of the track. He doesn't know what's happened. Barakbanev lost it right there. And Shapalili couldn't avoid it in time. A big T-bone accident. No safety car deployed. Both drivers still in this race. But that was a massive accident here at Zandvoort.
I have no idea what's just happened there. Barakbanev, we've already talked about it, haven't we, today? He needed to get that good performance in and not make these mistakes again. And, well, it's happened again, unfortunately for him. And
it's a bit of an uncommon mistake, but there is a bit of a weird drop-off near the right side of the track where the banking ends. There's almost a bit of a very acute drip. A change, in the surface there. So sometimes you can drop the car on the right side, and because of the sudden change in angle of the track, it actually can really hurt you, and you can actually spin the car around. So that's probably what happened to Barakbanev, but now he's lost all that time he was making up. Tease goes ahead of Shapalili, and Barakbanev, the only driver who may not be able to overtake him because he's had a little bit of an issue of his own. Barakbanev actually did make a pit stop. Shapalili unfortunately crashed and was not in front of the pit lane in time. Barakbanev able to make a quick pit stop, but Shapalili now has to go all the way back around, and he's just maybe not going to let Barakbanev off so easily. Oh no, that's not good. That's not good now. I can't say whether or not Shapalili did that on purpose, and she should retire from the session. I think Shapalili's going to pick up a major penalty because that looked like a brake check to me if I ever saw one.
Did he brake check him? I did not notice.
I think he broke check him because obviously Shapalili had to retire, had to go into the pit lane, but that's not how you slow down. And he crossed into the pit lane. So that would have been a penalty on its own right, but that looked like a brake check if I ever saw one. And unfortunately, both Barakbanev and Shapalili now out. Barakbanev must be upset. Didn't have to make a pit stop. So the fact of the matter is Barakbanev was not going into the pits just until that moment of a brake check, and he retires in the pit lane. Now a huge shuffle of cars are making their pit stop. Ginger, Noof, Ifaro, and Isaac Kush all make pit stops off of their worn soft compound tires, as now the grid's starting to shuffle up just a little bit. We may start to see some interesting strategies right here. Meanwhile, though, FRL Milan stays out on that soft tire, and he currently leads this race.
Yeah, and Tatamo at the moment, he's fallen well behind the two leaders. The two leaders seem to be quite clear of everyone. Interestingly, though, they've got Bugatti behind them, and I wonder if Bugatti will try and be a little bit optimistic, have a little bit of fun, and try and get past Rowan here, because those hard tyres are going to take a lap or two to actually become into their full pace. Well, I believe Bugatti's ones would be completely fine, but it looks like Bugatti's fallen back, though, still a little bit, so it looks like he will not intervene with these guys. Someone who most likely will end up intervening with these guys at the front would be someone like Maxro at the moment, who is sitting currently in 6th place, and he's well off the pace compared to Sia at the moment, outside that DRS zone. And Isaac Kush, I think, is going to try and launch an attack in the next couple of laps. Well, he'll have to. He can't stick behind him if Rowan is going to close in on him, can he? So I'll have to wait and see here at the moment, but Isaac Kush will be closing on Maxro.
And the Amazon Web Services predicted that now is the time to make your pit stop if you're on the soft tires between lap 12 and 15. And you can see there's Simply Rush on the medium tires, who has not yet made a pit stop off of his first set of tires, is leading this race. Devin, meanwhile, behind him, trying to close in on the Ferrari and put himself into the lead of the race. Meanwhile, he's at Kush. Is trying to find a way past Maxro, who is back by 1.4 seconds from Sia. So no DRS for the Renault driver. Obviously on the hard tires, Isaac Kush on a new set of hards, and you can see the rear end did not like when Maxro put on the throttle, because it snapped like no tomorrow. And Isaac Kush is going to look to get past this Renault rather quickly. You can see Maxro is really struggling, and he may have to make a pit stop rather prematurely. These hard tires are not looking very competitive later on into the near the half stage of this race. Here comes Isaac Kush. This should be an easy pass. I don't suspect Maxro is going to try to challenge it all too much. He tries to hang it around the outside, just does not have the grip advantage, and Isaac Kush up into 5th position now. Rowan is going to try to do the same.
Yeah, a little tap there from Maxro, though, at the exit of Isaac Kush. He's trying to keep with these guys, but I don't think it's going to work. Here's an awkward moment now then. Maxro and Rowan, they're most likely going to go side by side here. Rowan's pushing for it. He's going to the inside. Should be an easy move, but I don't think Maxro is too happy about losing these positions. He's going to fight back at him here. Is he going to end up going down the inside? Not there. It's still an opportunity here. No, he doesn't. So it looks like Maxro has lost another position, and, well, good news for Rowan is at the moment he will still be catching. For Isaac Kush, he could be in the DRS again, though, as he has Sia right in front of him. This is quite crucial now for the racing point, because at the moment, Rowan looks like in a more secure position to potentially move past the racing point in the next couple of laps.
Yannick is behind Sasek here, looking to possibly make a move as well. Outside of a second is Sasek here from Ginger, so he's not going to have DRS right there. What's right on board with Devin, though, is he continues to size up Simply Rush. And look at IFRO Rowan. He got up very close, about 0.2 of a second. Vapor Nuth and Bugatti have swapped positions. And Vapor Nuth up into 9th position. Bugatti may be looking to make a challenge, but he backs off a little bit. And now Nuth goes a little deep. That might allow Bugatti to get a little bit of better traction coming in the turn. Actually, it's Nuth, though, who has the advantage coming out of the corner. And we're almost near the halfway point in this race. The pit stops are starting to fly in. Now, it's going to be interesting for Maxro, because I suspect what he wants to do is wait as much as he can, pit for a set of soft tires and go till the end, and be wicked fast near the end of the race. But are the hard tires just not competitive enough at this point where he can sustainably keep that kind of strategy going?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think the hard tires should be able to resist a lot more laps than this, but they just don't seem to have the pace. But I think more interestingly, the tyre temperatures at this track can be they can play quite a big part in a driver's pace, and I wonder if that's what's affecting Maxro a little bit, and perhaps for Charlie as well. Perhaps they're running setups which perhaps make their tyre temperatures just explode and make them really, really warm, and that's affecting the way they're driving the car and make them more cautious. Now, I'm not too sure.
I don't know, because here's Dertamo making actually a pretty easy pass on Maxro. So maybe it's Maxro's driving more than anything, because he, out of all of the hard tire runners, seems to be struggling the most. He's now lost another position, down in 8th. Now Vapor Nuth is trying to make it past, as these Williams drivers have really been caught up in traffic in probably the worst way possible. And right now, Isaac Kush is in the best position. Let's bring up the tire details so you can see exactly how old these tires are. So most drivers are on a new set of hard tires. A few, that's only Bugatti, Sasakir, and Maxro on an old set. So Vapor Nuth and Dertamo are on a newer set, which is why they are getting past a little bit easier, but Maxro still struggling quite a bit. The medium tire runners yet to make a pit stop yet. They've been going about 14 laps. They still look to be okay at the moment, but rather soon you're going to start to see drivers like Isaac Kush start to dice their way through this pack of cars, and that's where you may start to see the top 4 drivers decide to finally make pit stops, as they realize it may be coming just a little bit too uncompetitive at this point for them to stay out. As CRLC, you can see how much time he's losing in a couple of these turns, as Isaac Kush is just loads more grip through some of these corners. Those medium tires are definitely not the fastest tire at the moment on track.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that these guys haven't been saving their ERS in this DRS zone. They know they're quicker than the guys ahead, but particularly Isaac Kush, he doesn't need to really worry about getting past these guys immediately, because Rowan's going to have the same struggles, and this isn't a track where overtaking is at every single corner either. There's very few overtaking opportunities here, so there's no need for these guys to be using the ERS. I wonder if that's just the general sense of this track. It's very, very difficult to save, but there's no need to use any ERS at the moment. Just stick in behind these drivers and just relax a little bit. Once these drivers get ahead, then you've got all the ERS to use. Again, don't need to use it here, and he's used all of it here. So Isaac Kush is just putting himself a bit under pressure here by just wasting all his overtake, when he knows that Sia's not going to even be compromised on the straight because he has the DRS there to help him.
A little weird to see that, and you can see there about 18% on the ERS right there for Isaac Kush, so he's going to have to save up a bit, or maybe he's getting a little impatient. Maybe he thinks that if the longer that I'm behind these drivers, it's going to be tougher for me to keep that lead of the race, so he wants to make it pass rather quickly. Sia, meanwhile, is dropping it on locations where he does not need to drop that car because it's only going to lose him time. A little bit of grass picked up on there. That's not going to help grip levels whatsoever on some very warm mediums, and Isaac Kush had to really avoid the back of the AlphaTauri right there, and now Rowan might be looking to take an advantage here as he's going to move to the outside lane. What a move by FR Rowan. Now still on the inside, making contact with now Isaac Kush, and Isaac Kush says no thank you, gives him a bit of a nudge, and Rowan almost got sent round, but that was a costly mistake from Isaac Kush, almost hit the back of Cyril Sia, and now Rowan is right there, and he's letting Isaac Kush know, I'm still here, and I will pounce when the time is right, and the time was almost right there, but Isaac Kush keeps ahead at the moment, stays in 5th position.
Yeah, but look who's just got on behind them. Totamo as well is now in this fight for the lead, and I said this again, look at the overtake that these guys have got to fight with. Not much at all. They've lost it pretty much all now because they keep using it to attack each other. But the thing is, they're not going to easily get past each other. They've all got DRS and they're all in the same boat. The only one who perhaps once they get by, if Isaac Kush gets by Sia and of course Rowan as well, then of course Mike K will be one for the taking there. And I guess as Isaac Kush's teammate, it will be more of a support play for Isaac Kush. But I expect these guys to pit very soon on the medium tyres. I don't know what lap they will pit, but they'll be pitting very soon. But there's just no need to use all this overtake. Just hold on to it and wait till all these guys have pitted, because you're going to be stuck in this train for now, and it's not going to really mean all the world for you just to save it. But they're all using it up, and this is where the problem comes in. But here comes Isaac Kush. Is he going to try and send it down the inside of Sia? He's definitely thinking about it, but it looks like Sia's looking at the same
contact
thing.
there. Oh no! And it looks like there was a bit of contact for Tunetank with Sia, who had that problem. Does he have damage? He does on the front wing. He's lost an end play. Now Maxrow, who was way out of the battle, now is able to even catch up to Tunetank a little bit, as he's still on those hard tires, which are now 18 laps old, so Bugatti as well. But, it's just a shame. Very unlucky for Tunetank. And Vapor Nuke, meanwhile, actually, to get caught up in that little spin from Sia, who looks like he made contact with Mike K, actually, into the turn right there. So, meanwhile, Isaac Kush now is behind his teammate, and I don't suspect that will be a very difficult pass for Isaac Kush to make. Mike K, I'm sure, knows who the faster driver is on track, but very unfortunate for the Williams team. Tunetank's dropping positions left and right. Now he's down into 10th position.
Rowan!
What?
Oh, he went into the back of him. He's lost time there. He went into the back of Isaac Kush. He completely missed the braking point of Isaac Kush and went well wide. And now Isaac Kush, he is going to take advantage. He's got past his teammate. And I tell you what, with the slower driver on the slower tyre, it's not going to be very fun now for Rowan. And particularly in this area,
look at Vapor Noof and Sia. They're having a bit of a side-by-side battle right there. Noof now ahead of Sia.
Yeah, and Sia, of course, moving backwards. But on that incident, though, between Sia, Mike K, and, of course, Isaac Kush, it was actually Isaac Kush who I believe would be the fault of that. Although, yes, Sia went into the back of Mike K, I do think it was actually, it was Mike K's teammate, Isaac Kush, who pushed Sia into the back of Mike K in the end. And, of course, unfortunately spun Sia. But I think if that goes to the stewards, I think Isaac Kush will be in a little bit of trouble here. So, even if he wins this race on the track, that may not even be the final result here.
Meanwhile, can you believe this? So Devin currently leading this Grand Prix. Not what you would expect at all. He's at Kush back by 2 seconds from Simply Rush, who is on those very old medium tires, which are surely getting towards the end of their lifespan. You might be looking at a pit stop soon. Mike K now makes his pit stop finally, getting off of those medium tires. Isaac Kush, meanwhile, isn't actually catching up all that quickly to the back of Simply Rush. About 2 seconds, just about, as he is gaining maybe a little bit in the turns, but on the straights, it's not too much. Simply Rush and Devin are having a very nice race right now. They may not be in win contention, but certainly some good points. And FER Simply Rush, meanwhile, is having the absolute best race possible he can. Haas is not having a good race, 16th, and one of their drivers out of this race. Of course, that big incident with Shapoloi and Barakbadev, which I'm sure we will see become investigated after the race, especially from that brake check it looked like from Shapoloi. But Ferrari is looking to make a big jump in the championship here today.
Yeah, but Simply Rush has to get back all that time when he does make his pit stop finally. Of course, which I do suspect to be very soon, considering Mike K's pit stop. May even be this lap. There goes Devon, and there goes Simply Rush. So into the pits they go. I reckon they may go onto the soft tyres. Mike K's gone onto the softs. Yep, onto the soft tyres they go. So this is going to be an interesting rush for all of them. They will drop out of the points, I think, provisionally.
Look at this. Ginger looking to challenge on the inside, and now on the outside, and oh my goodness, how did Ginger save that car? He almost spun it around right there. That was not a place where you normally make an overtake, and you saw why, because Ginger almost went around, and the drivers are getting a little feisty with each other. They're getting a little impatient. They want to make it past rather quickly, and because of that, they're taking some very, very, very daring risks, which you have to in a track like Zandvoort. It's not a track where there's a whole lot of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, Zandvoort, very tricky circuit, of course, to get round, and here goes Ginger. Should be an easy move. I think Sia's tyres are completely gone. He shouldn't fight this one back. There's no point. He needs to get the sets of softs on as soon as possible when he gets into the pits, which should be this lap. Again, Rowan, he's dropped back. He's dropped back quite a lot from Isaac Kush. And it looks like Vapor Nuff at the moment is going to have a quick go. Bugatti, is Bugatti going to the end? I'm not entirely too sure. Has he made a pit stop?
Can you go till the... I don't think you can... No,
I don't think he has.
Let's bring up the detail there. Where's the stops? No, Bugatti's not made a pit stop yet, so he cannot go till the end. So he may just... I mean, listen, he's got nothing to lose. Neither does Sia, quite frankly. They're both having fantastic races, all things considered, where they started the race. So let's not get too much in a twist here. They're still having very nice races on their own right. Bugatti probably has a little bit more time to go on those hard tires than the medium tires for his teammate, respectively, which is good because they have to make pit stops at different points. So we're going to see how that's going to play into the range here as they're 4th and 6th, respectively. So a little closer than you might expect. Now Tease has retired from the session, and that is it. Haas is now have nobody in the race, and it's been another disaster for the American outfit. And it's just not been a good season. Barakbadev was looking to score some great points today, and it's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, both drivers out, and Ferrari is looking to make up a bit of time and especially a lot of position on the Haas team.
Yeah, and Ginger's up positions, Yannick up positions. That's because guys pitting. I've just noticed that. Devin up to 7th, by the way, looking pretty quick, and I reckon he'll be looking to get closer, perhaps catch up to the likes of Yannick in 5th place. So this looks like to be an interesting day for Devin. He's moved up 8 places already, so not the best qualifying from him, but in the race, he's looking very, very quick right now, and has got a lot of potential here at the moment as he's moved past Milan. Well clear of him. He's got 12 laps to make an impact, and those soft tyres, they're going to go at least another like 7 or 8 laps, so get the move on, and McLaren could potentially be seeing a top 5 here tonight.
I think even a podium position here, because it's not, the gaps are not that big. If we bring up the gaps here from the leader, Devon's only back by 10 seconds here. So it's not like they're far behind here in this race. Devon on a much faster tire. We could be looking at that soon. Meanwhile, we have a problem. It's for Maxro, who has had a spin, and it looks like a bit of an accident, and he's lost some front wing, and I'm sure he's lost some tire life as well. So not looking too good. Meanwhile, Devon is going to make a pass on Sia, who goes into the pit lane. So Devon up into 6th position, now looking to chase down Yannick. So the rest of the drivers are on hard compound tires. Devon is on a set of softs, and so is a bunch of drivers behind him. Are we going to see, have the hard tire runners made a mistake? Is this not the strategy to be in? I think Devin is going to catch up a few more positions than we might expect. Charlie Moon has retired from the session. So has Max Rowe. So only one Ferrari left in this race, only one Renault left in this race as well. We're losing quite a bit of drivers retiring in this race towards the end of the session.
Yeah, and at the moment, Rowan's under a lot of pressure now, it looks like, from Vapor Neuf. So it looked like Rowan and Isaac Kush will be battling right to the line to finish this race. Who will be finishing higher? It looks like now it's going to be Rowan defending from Vapor Neuf. And Vapor Neuf definitely has shown pace this season. Of course, he's won a race. So I would expect him to potentially close in on Rowan. Not enough just for now. But a lot of spaces still between drivers. Simply Rush, the Ferrari, trying to get past Milan. Surely he would go for it into the first corner. He would have been very daring, but he is on the soft tyres, so technically he has an advantage over that Mercedes ahead of him in Milan.
And you can see the difference. Look how much closer to the apex of the corner Simply Rush is able to get that car. That hard tire probably starting to reach now its midway point where it's not super competitive, but of course it's not horrible. But Milan cannot afford to be dropping it in the gravel on the grass like he is right now, because that's just going to slow the tires up a fair bit if getting all that debris on them. So Milan looking to struggle a little bit here. Simply Rush looking probably to make a move rather soon. He's back by about 0.4 of a second. Meanwhile, Vapor Neuf has lost a little bit of time, actually, to the eye for a Rowan. Now back by about almost 0.8 of a second, actually. So he dropped it in the grass a little bit himself. Let's go back to Simply Rush, who I think might be able to make a move here on Milan on the start-finish line. Milan again drops it in the grass. That's not tire grip. That's just general mistakes. Milan has a horrible run out of the final turn, and Simply Rush is going to rush his way up in the 7th position ahead of Milan. And now it is Devin and Simply Rush leading the charge here on those soft tires. 4-lap-old softs. Not a lot of racing left to go, but there is plenty of positions to be made for these drivers.
Yeah, very much a lot of positions, and Devon closing in slowly at the moment. He was 2 seconds about a lap ago. A lap later, 0.8 quicker, and you can see Yannick just in the distance there, and he has got a lot of ERS to play with as well. He's being smart at the moment. He doesn't need to use it. He just needs to push and close in normally, and then at the end of this race, he could end up compromising all the drivers ahead of him, who seem to be struggling to save it at the moment. Vapor Neuf at the moment, he's still sticking behind Rowan. Rowan trying to close in a little bit more on Isaac Kush. He's not far from closing in within a second, but at the moment it looks like for now Isaac Kush is going to be winning this race, unless obviously anything happens, such as a penalty or quite a big mistake. But it looks like a perfect race so far for the Racing Point driver. But looking further back again, Devon almost in that DRS now. He's closing by the second, and here we go into the DRS zone. He should DRS range. He should be right about now. I reckon at the exit this corner with those soft tires should be able to get into it, and it looks like maybe he doesn't. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer then for Devon, but he's starting to get closer now to the front runners. So interesting battles here to come on for the final few laps, but Vapor Neuf has to get a move on and close in on that Mercedes driver, but he's just taking his time right now.
Isaac Kush, I want to mention, he is in control, but if he makes a mistake, he is going to struggle a bit, because look at that ERS, 16%. He doesn't have a lot to play with. Usually the leader of the race can sit back a little bit, save some energy, but he is using a lot of overtake out of the exit of these corners, trying to get as much traction as possible and try to get as good of an exit out of these corners. But that is costing him quite a fair bit. You can see down the straight, down to 2% on the ERS right there. And if he makes a mistake here, it's going to cost him quite a fair bit. Meanwhile, Devon is going to make a move on Yannick up into 5th position. It was coming, and you could just see it happen. And now Devon is up into the top 5 here. And Simply Rush may follow suit soon. Meanwhile, Devon now back by 3 seconds to Ginger. So we'll see if he can make up enough time here with about 7 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, a very, very good race from Devon this race. We've not really talked about him that much. He hasn't really been on our screens too often, but he's made up 10 positions in this race. And yes, some guys have retired, but he started P15. So it's still creditable, and he's done brilliantly in this race, to be honest. He's well away from people who are on the same strategy as him as well, so he's been quite clear. His next opponent is Ginger, though, and Ginger's still 3 seconds up the road, so it's going to be a struggle, but Ginger hasn't got that DRS to help him, as he will continue to drop time, I reckon, to Vapornuff in 3rd place, who, again, still not close enough to Rowan, and more alarmingly, Rowan very, very close now to the DRS for Isaac Kush. So Isaac Kush may have to pick up the pace a little bit more to make sure that that doesn't happen.
But Isaac Kush has put himself in a tough position here because he does not have that ERS to play with. Rowan, meanwhile, doesn't quite so much either, but of course he does have the DRS. It's something that Isaac Kush does not have at his disposal. So Rowan just has to keep it tidy, keep it smooth, keep it close to the apexes, gain some time, try to get in within DRS range, because I think if he does, Isaac Kush is going to have some problems. As you can see right there, hovering around 5% sometimes, as low as 2% in the ERS bank right there. Isaac Kush is just not really saving up his battery quite a fair bit. He's using it a lot out of the exit. Right there you can see, look how much overtake he's using out of the exit, even outside of the exit, down halfway some of the straight points. So Isaac Kush has to be absolutely mistake-free right now. You can see he is continuing to keep ahead of Rowan. In fact, Rowan has made up, actually lost some time. In fact, because now Nuth is back by about 0.6 of a second, so he's a lot closer than he has been before. I don't think he's in range for an overtake just quite yet. He lost it again in the 3rd sector, so Vapor Nuth seems to lose a lot of time there in the 3rd sector to Rowan. The 2nd sector is not good right now for Rowan. He loses a lot of time right there to Isaac Kush, which is allowing Isaac Kush to stay out of the DRS danger zone from Rowan and keep the lead of this race. But Vapor Nuth, he's losing it in the wrong parts of the track. He has to keep up with Rowan in the 3rd sector if he wants to have any chance of making a DRS attack on Rowan.
Yeah, and Rowan at the moment, he's just dropping back now. I wonder if Rowan's tyres are starting to feel it a little bit now. Rowan's starting to struggle a little bit for pace. Vapornuff, oh my goodness! I've just gone on board with him, and he literally almost lost a car. That's lost him a lot of time now, and the Williams, I think, he'll be trying to close in. It's going to be very close, but that's a lot of momentum lost now for the Williams driver, so closing in would be quite difficult. Meanwhile, looking back, because we're not seeing an overtake there, we may see an overtake though for a Ferrari, and a Ferrari making an overtake on a Renault here, as Yannick is starting to lose the pace. He's already lost 3 seconds to Devon in the last couple of laps, so we know where the pace lies on the soft tyres. But Simply Rush, here he comes to the inside, doesn't even defend Yannick. He knows his position is basically gone. So he just lets the Ferrari through, and he's in 7th place right now. I reckon this will be whereabouts he will finish. But for Devon, he's not closed in on Ginger, has he?
No.
He's been stuck at that 3-second gap for a little while now, and I wonder if those soft tyres are starting to be in the same ranges as hard tyres, basically coming towards the end of their lives.
Yeah, they might be in that middle stage right there. Not super competitive, of course, not losing a lot of time either, just about the same pace-wise. So it will be okay for them. I think they'll keep those positions. Simply Rush and Devon, 5th and 6th, respectively. Ferrari is going to have a lot of points made up on the Haas team right there. In 7th position is Yannick in the Renault. As we are into the closing stages of this race, Vapor Nuth has caught up just a bit of more time again. Rowan just does not have the pace to get up with Isaac Kush, who continues to lead away in this race. No penalties for anybody in the race. Very interesting to see there. Brakbadev, actually, if he continued in this race with that 3 seconds, probably would have been struggling quite a fair bit to score some points, given how clean everybody has been so far. We've had a few bumps and a few shoves, and almost a few spin arounds, but in terms of penalties, they've been very, very clean with each other. It would not be good to pick it up right now, of course, but I'm not going to try to jinx anybody here. Commentator's curse is definitely one of the worst illnesses that anybody can put onto another human being, and I'm just going to shut up about it now before anybody picks up a penalty and blames me for the affair. But Vapor Nuth Look at this, 0.6 of a second right now. He's got the DRS. He has caught back up to Rowan, so Rowan, I think, is struggling the most right now inside the top 3, sorry. And if just he can keep up in the third sector, this is the crucial point here. This is where Nuth loses time to Rowan. As you can see there, clips the curb. He gets on the curb there, and now look at this, back by about 6.5 of a second. Not enough to keep close enough for an overtake, and he will continue to stay behind the back of that Mercedes. And now there are just 3 laps to go in this Dutch Grand Prix, and Isaac Kush is looking to secure the victory here today and continue to lead the championship.
Yeah, Isaac Kush looking very strong now towards the end of this race, and Rowan again, he's just dropped off the pace really, I think, a little bit. He'll be under pressure from Vapor Nuff, who was actually incredibly caught back that time after that small mistake. It looked like he weren't really going to be gaining much, but he's now 4 attempts behind him, and then now all coming towards the end of this very, very stressful sort of period now for Rowan, because he may not even finish in that second place. Vapor Nuff is closing in, and he's looking to close in with a bit of a statement here. 6 attempts behind. He could still close in that gap, but not long to go now, though, for these drivers. Only 2 more laps after this. 2 more opportunities, really, for Vapor Nuff. I wonder if Yannick is actually going to come back at Simply Rush. He hasn't lost so much time, but hasn't gained a lot. But those hard tyres on 24 laps now, I wonder if they could be on the verge of bursting, but we hope not, because obviously a race doesn't really want to be destroyed by a puncture, does it?
No, not at all. And Vapor Nuth, meanwhile, again, same story. Third sector just loses all the time he makes up. He loses about 0.2 of a second every time he enters the third sector to the back of Rowan. So Rowan clearly just has an outright pace advantage in that part of the track, and that's allowing Nuth, not allowing Nuth to catch up into attack range of DRS. That's the big key here. Now look at this, 0.3 of a second. This is interesting here. Now 2.5 of a second. If Nuth can keep this up and stay maybe now within about 0.4 of a second back, even with the time loss in the third sector, he may be able to make an attack, but he has a big lockup there. Now it's about 4.5 of a second to now the back of Rowan. And now coming into this third sector here, there's a lot of dirty air, I imagine, for the back here if you're the Williams driver. Oh, but this actually looks really good. He's gained about 1/10 in that turn, now through the penultimate turn. This is looking much more enticing. Now about 0.4 of a second. This is looking good. Vapor Nuth may finally be able to make an attack on the final lap of this race. Moves to the outside lane. Now on the inside is Rowan as he covers the inside line and he keeps the position. And that may be it. Nuth does not have a lot of positions left to try to make an overtake on the Mercedes here. Rowan covered it absolutely perfectly. Some amazing defending from Rowan right there. Now Devin, meanwhile.
Yep, he's gonna. Ginger has a puncher.
Ginger! Puncture for Ginger! That's not good. Does that mean something for the top drivers here? Meanwhile, look at this. Nuth right on the back of Rowan. He's still trying to find a way past that Mercedes. Ginger's had a disaster. A big puncture near the end of this race. He may drop out of the top 10.
Yeah, and if Bugatti looking to get by, Ginger trying to get to the end and get into points. This will be some salvage if he ends up doing it.
Meanwhile, Isaac Kush is coming around the final couple of turns here, and he is looking to secure the victory here. Milan is out of the race. He's had a crash somewhere, and he might have had a puncture himself. Isaac Kush comes around the final turn, and he's going to win the Dutch Grand Prix. To the line is Vapor Nuth, and he's just going to stay in third. Devin has moved up in the 4th position. A valiant effort from the McLaren into the top 5. Meanwhile, a Simply Rush, a great drive from the FVR driver. Ginger still in 9th. Now gets overtaken from Dortamo. Sasek here's back by 2.2 seconds. I think Ginger might just keep it in the top 10. And yes, he does. Sasek here scores the final point for Red Bull. And what a end to the race right there. And Mike K might secure the fastest lap of the race as he comes across the line. And he does, at the end there, secure that final point. But it's not going to be a point scored for him. It's a point stolen away from the top 10. What an end. Ginger, massive disappointment. Devin, what a race. And the game agrees as well because they've given him driver of the day. And I wouldn't give it to any other driver. That was a masterful performance from the McLaren driver. But what a race there. Rowan, amazing defending from Noof. Tried to make a move on the outside. That really isn't the optimal place to make that move. And it is a win, though, for Isaac Kush. He wins the Dutch Grand Prix here at Zandvoort, and he pops open the champagne. What a race right there in Zandvoort. Couldn't have asked for a better show from the drivers. They continue to show here in F4 why they are the rising stars of PSGL.
Yeah, and Isaac Kush here really starting to take a stance here, and I think the drivers need to do some play some catch up with Isaac Kush. But one thing we've known this season so far and everything, you're not going to run away with things. And I think Rowan as well was in the hunt for the win for the majority of this race. Shame, though, he had a little bit of a mistake. I can't remember what he exactly did, but it lost him a lot of time. I think he went into the back of Isaac Kush slightly. He chose a different line, but great podium to see there. Vapor Nuff as well in the championship hunt, and he started third. The top three stayed top three, but Devon and Simply Rush, brilliant performances from them, and also Bugatti as well. So really, really interesting results going into next week.
Unfortunately, Sia just missed outside of that top 10. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Isaac Kush wins it here in Zandvoort. I'm going to have to not let you talk because I didn't get to go over the entire grid order at the end of the race there. So I'll keep talking next time. I was like, when's Sam going to shut up? Oh, he didn't. But that is not a serious comment, of course. Always great from the insight from Sam Thompson here. And wow, what an absolute banger of a race right there in Zandvoort, as we're going to get hopefully some podium interviews from the top three here in this race. Here at Zandvoort, Isaac Kush picks up the victory here in the Dutchlands, in the Netherlands, in Zandvoort. You couldn't have asked for a better performance. You don't want to see me buy that helmet. That thing looks ugly. Let's go to the showroom. Let's bring up the Racing Point right there, and let's get some drivers in for some interviews, hopefully.
Oh, well, that was awkward. I tried inviting him to this Vapor Nuff to this party, and awkwardly it would have told me I would have left my own party, which I didn't want. Which I didn't want to do. So I had to do it the good old manual way. Lovely, thank you, PlayStation. Always a help.
Yeah, I didn't hear what was awkward because I unplugged my microphone's thing by accident. So don't repeat it for the stream. They've all heard it. We don't need to hear it again. But I didn't hear what was awkward. I'm sure it was terrible, horrible.
It was absolutely disgusting.
I'm sorry that happened to you. It's terrible. I don't care.
Buying an Xbox. Oh dear, no. Yeah, terrible. Right, so who are we inviting? We've got Vapornuff. It was Rowan, weren't it, who finished second? So my mind needs to stop skipping a beat, and I need to remember who was on the podium for today. If we can hopefully get someone in here, because some drivers seem to be a little bit shy, so...
Yeah.
And we do have someone. That's good.
Who do we have somebody in the party right now?
Yep. We have
Who is it?
Vapor Noof.
Oh, so let's move over to that white and blue Williams. Vapor Noof, you finish on the podium. It just wasn't quite there in the pace to get up in the second. It looked like a few times you had that bit of mistake. You were still able to catch up towards the end. Unfortunately, the outside line, not a great line for attacking into turn one. Rowan defended it well. Talk us through that race, because that was a bit of a doozy, but I'm sure for you as well, a few moments there where it looked like it was all coming undone for Williams.
Yeah, it was like chaos around me, but the racing itself for me wasn't that exciting, to be honest. The few overtakes that I made were pretty simple, so not that exciting. My teammate sadly got killed, so yeah, free position, but clearly not what you want as a team. And yeah, towards the end I knew that I had better tire wear and all of that. I was pretty good at tire saving in practice. So I just waited for the last few laps to attack, but sadly I made a little mistake and had to push again. And the track is so horrible with ERS management that I basically had nothing left for the last attack, and yeah, Rowan defended well, so he deserved P2.
So it was very good. Sam, any questions for our third place man here in the race today?
No, not really. But obviously,
You're boring
congratulations
too,
on the podium.
I guess. We're just boring. Yeah, boring race, boring interviews. Is anybody else in?
Isaac Kush joined us.
Is that Kush is in? He's at. You win it. I'm sure you're gonna tell me similar story. How was your race today?
It was a fun race actually.
Oh,
It was not boring like the others. I had Rowan on my back the whole race, keeping me on my toes. So trying to keep it on track and not get any penalties was quite difficult. Yeah. ABS is really OP here, you know.
all right. So he somehow it was a very exciting race, but somehow very boring interview answers. Sam, do you have any questions for the winner of the race?
I do. Obviously, ABS is not allowed in this tier, so luckily, I don't think anyone would have had the ABS on, so that was quite fortunate, I guess, at the end. But I wanted to talk about quickly the incident you had with CRL's Sia midway through the race. Because it looked like he was going for a move as well on your teammate, Mike Kane. There was a little bit of an altercation between the three of you. Would you like to explain the incident from your point? Because you could be a little bit in trouble, I reckon, if it does.
Wait. How are we just gonna gloss over the fact you just said it's not ABS is off limits and it's like, oh yeah, ABS OP.
Yeah, it's a joke. Relax.
I don't know about that one.
It was a joke. It was a joke. It's
see.
not allowed in this Formula 4 division.
Well, that I know.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a joke. Let's not try and get too personal here, shall we? But no, about that, what was your thoughts on that incident that happened with the AlphaTauri?
I was really desperate to get past him because I wanted a car between me and Rowan, and I was kind of behind him for I think a few laps. So, on that lap main straight, that was the closest I've been to him the whole time. So I was like, I deployed everything just to get past him, but then I didn't see that he was also gonna make a move on my teammate, and then we both kind of went for the dive at the same time. And I think he hit my teammate and slowed down, and then I hit him. So yeah, I think it was kind of unfortunate for him because I think he lost like 3 positions because of that. But yeah, that's my POV.
Yeah, well, there's no real other questions we could really ask, is there? Except from, obviously, congratulations on your victory today. A very good performance again, same as last week.
Yeah, thanks.
Do we have man number P2 in our party?
We do not. We do not have Rowan here to talk to, which is such a shame. Could have got the hat trick, but no, we don't get the hat trick today.
No, always lose a little bit. It's okay. Eventually it will happen. I hope. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Dutch Grand Prix. Zach Kush is your race winner. P2, IFR Rowan, and Vapor Nooth captures P3 here today. A very exciting race. Lots of incidents, twists and turns, a few massive moments. Nonetheless, it continues to be one of the most exciting tiers in PSGL's PlayStation divisions. My name is Noah Clark. You've been joined by Sam Thompson in the commentary booth. If you've enjoyed the commentary, make sure to leave a like on the live stream and subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another live race here today. And we will join you next week for the next race, which is Sam Thompson. Let me know.
I've just gone off it, haven't I? I think it's France. Yeah, it is definitely France.
No.
It is France. It's France.
Is it France? It's France?
It's France. Round 6, PSGL, France.
All right. It was
kind
of a half botch, but regardless, nonetheless, thank you so much for joining us live, and have yourselves a wonderful night. Thank you so much for watching.